Greetings, adventurer, and welcome to Andra'Cil. Of all the settlements in Andra'Cil, none is as big or as magnificent as the living city. Not a single one can even compare to the glory of Trinity. This city is the core of the Trinity Civilization. The enormous wall of Trinity makes the city seem unconquerable to anyone who gets close to it. As you approach these imposing walls, you're confronted with your own insignificance in the face of a city that seems to pulsate with life like a heart. You enter the crowded roads of the city, and a mixture of different scents fills the air. From the sweet smell of freshly baked bread, cinnamon, and other aromatic spices, to the smoky smell of the forge ovens, the different impressions mix to an incomparable experience. These pleasant olfactory impressions are sporadically interrupted by the odor of the canals and horses. Strolling through the streets, you're confronted with a large assortment of different impressions around every corner. Most of the buildings have a stone foundation. The walls are made of clay, which are kept in shape by thick wooden beams. The shingle roofs join together in some places to connect different houses when they are not interrupted by leaps in height or small balconies and terraces. The streets are paved, and to the sides, gutters lead water through drainage shafts into the sewage system below the city. Away from the main roads, the smaller streets quickly turn into mazes where tunnels lead through the foundation of houses. Bridges high above the streets add a whole new dimension to the maze in which to get lost in. The different districts are divided by a complicated system of canals large enough to not only support gondoliers but also small cargo ships. These canals lead the water from the northern river Fluss to the southern suburbs to water the fields which are the main crop supply in Trinity. If you look up, you see flying carriages roaring through the sky, transporting people from one part of the city to another. You probably can't afford such a carriage ride yet, since your adventure has only just begun. Hello again, adventurer, my name is Koroc DM. Today I want to tell you more about the Trinity Civilization from my D&D setting Andra'Cil. It is still a work in progress, but if you liked what you've heard so far, why not give this video a thumbs up? And if you want to join me on my journey, consider subscribing. But let's jump right back into it and take a look at the three major settlements of the Trinity Civilization: Bottlebrush, Raven Coast, and the capital city, Trinity itself. Let's start with the largest and most important settlement of all Andra'Cil, according to the Trin themselves, of course. This city is not only big, it is massive. It is designed so that whole adventures could take place inside the city walls. The conflict between the old noble houses and the new guilds portray the contrast of old traditions and change. The living city gets its name from the busy streets, the enormous number of people who live there, and from the fact that the city is quite literally alive. The city seems to grow by itself. New buildings appear in empty spaces, and existing buildings grow new floors, or basements, overnight where there were none before. The wall is constantly shifting further outwards, and although this is a slow process, scholars believe that at some point in the distant future, all of Andra'Cil will be part of Trinity. Trinity is so enormous and offers everything its citizens need to survive, so that almost none of them feel any desire to learn what is going on outside the city walls. Many citizens can't even imagine that there is a world outside the city, and even if there is, living there cannot be desirable. The furthest that individuals ever go outside is to the suburbs, just outside the massive walls of the city. This usually convinces most people that life inside the city walls is far more comfortable. The second most important settlement for the Trin is Raven Coast, the main wood supplier of Trinity and the settlement that has the most problems with both the Savage and Fae. If you run a game in Andra'Cil, this is a great place to go for side adventures, or as a gateway from civilization into the wilderness, or the other way around. This small town was built on a large ridge overlooking the cliffs of Andra'Cil. This allows smaller airships to fly under the city without any major problems if their destination is further north, and provides a defensible position against piracy. The first thing you can see when you approach the city on board an airship are the redwood shingle roofs glittering in the sun and the ravens flying alongside the cliffs. These ravens, nesting in the cliffs and trees around this area, inspired the name Raven Coast. This lumber town provides Trinity with a sustainable wood supply. They provide both the quantity that Trinity needs and the quality that guild master craftsmen and some nobles desire. The trees near the town grow so fast that the lumberjacks here joke that they could not clear the forest even if they tried. But it also means that the lumberjacks of the town have to fight constantly against the fast approaching border of the forest. Otherwise it would undoubtedly march across the city and reintegrate everything in its path back into the wilderness. The trade with special and rare woods has ensured the survival of Raven Coast, but the mass trade with the logs from the secret willow forest has turned the small lumber village into the thriving town it is today. In order to enable the loading and unloading of wood and other goods, a massive stone pier has been built from the edge of the town into the cloud sea. Here cargo can be unloaded from the airships and the logs can be loaded. The city frequently clashes with the Furbolg tribe and Fae when they are searching for special kinds of wood. They do not understand what these giant savages want from them, only that they attack for no apparent reason to drive them away. Usually it is enough to retreat and come back with reinforcements. The last settlement I want to talk about today is the smallest of the three and could soon be reduced to only a footnote in the minds of the Trin. But this is the perfect starting point for inexperienced adventurers or anyone who doesn't want to throw their players directly into the big city. This helps new groups to discover who their characters are first and journey to Trinity when and if they're ready. Butterbridge is an idyllic village at the edge of Willow Lake, once a flourishing waypoint for traders on their journey from Trinity to the desert city of Kapesh and back. Following the further development of airships and their increased carrying capacity and speed, significantly fewer travelers pass through the village directly. It seems that the golden years are over for Butterbridge. A lot of its former beauty has withered away over time, and though this little village is still beautiful in a serene way, many of the younger people leave in the pursuit of their own luck in Trinity. The citizens of Butterbridge have two main sources of supply. One is fishing on the river and Willow Lake, which is the basis of their diet. The Devil's Thunder is the most eagerly eaten fish in the village and is considered a delicacy even in Trinity. The name Devil's Thunder comes from the reddish shimmer of the scales. The other food source are the roots that grow in the region and are cultivated by the citizens themselves. The area is also used for hunting, but the consumption of game is reserved for nobility. Once it was the duty of the Ranger Order to keep the area safe. The Rangers kept the peace from the steppe in the north to the hills in the south, from the foot of the Green Chief to the moor west of the Willow Lake. This order is called the Lanterns, as they aim to be guiding lights in the darkness for travelers. Nowadays, the area around Butterbridge is not as safe as it used to be. The resources of the local nobility are only enough to keep the immediate surroundings of the village and the road into the hills towards Kapesh relatively safe. Once dozens of rangers used to keep the goblins, centaurs, fae and other creatures of the wilderness in check. However, those numbers have dwindled. Today only a handful are left. Due to their numbers, they are only able to protect the immediate vicinity of Butterbridge. The Trinity Civilization has a long history, dating back over 1,000 years. A lot has happened in this time, but most of the important developments took place inside of Trinity. This further strengthens the belief of most Trin that nothing worthwhile can be found outside the living city. I tried to explain the present of the Trinity Civilization as it is now and create a lore-rich history. While I was creating the historical events, I tried to show what is possible in this setting and inspire the reader. I hope DMs who want to run a game in this setting can use these events as plot hooks, plot points and foreshadowing for things yet to come. The initial settlers arrived in the valley at the foot of the Yelling Mountains approximately 100 years before the founding of Trinity. However, the alliance of dwarves, humans and high elves first decided to build 3 separate cities. The dwarves dug into the steep face of the mountain and immediately began to mine valuable ores from the earth. The elves built their towers on the edge of Andra'Cil to study the arcane arts, with one eye to the endless vastness of the cloud sea. The heartland of the valley was claimed by the humans. who wanted to use the green fertile land for agriculture. The feline tribe who originally inhabited the valley welcomed the new arrivals friendly, eager to learn from the advanced visitors. They helped the settlers to adapt to their new home. In return, the three cities welcomed the wild feline into their cities and gave them a place among them. The Trinity era was initiated by the first Empress and her 11 knights when she united the three settlements into one great city, and Trinity, the living city, was born, marking the day of the Trinity Union. Thus, Trinity's first Empress became known as the Trinity Empress. She sent her knights to find a way to ensure the continuity of her legacy despite the absence of the gods. On the 27th of May in the year 57 after the Trinity Union, the 11 knights returned as saints, which each had mastered one of the domains formerly controlled by the gods. They swore to protect the legacy of the Trinity Empress and to save Trinity from all misfortune. They used their godlike powers to bless Trinity. It is thanks to these blessings that the city itself seems to have come to life and continues to grow by itself. Since then, a direct descendant of the Trinity Empress has always ruled over the living city. Each of them gave the city a great achievement, which in return determined the title of the regent with which they went down in history. Over the centuries, there have been several disasters and internal conflicts. Again and again, traitors created unrest and tried to seize power over the city, but each time these criminals were beaten back by loyal servants of the city and with the help of the saints. This luck seems to have found an end though. The 22nd Empress of Trinity, the Dragon Empress, died in an implosion which destroyed her palace in 992 without leaving a descendant. Now Trinity is on the brink of a civil war for control over the city. At the moment, the council of the former Empress is still keeping peace in Trinity, but nobody knows when the members will start reaching for power themselves. Meanwhile, the tension between the old established noble houses and the major guilds who recently came to power continues to rise. It is now the year 993 and Trinity is about to enter a new era. The question everyone is now asking, what this will look like. Many look for the saints in search of guidance in this time of unrest. This is the shortest version of over 1,000 years of history. The city had 22 rulers and everyone did at least one thing to earn themselves a title they are remembered by. From the Demon-Bane Emperor, who ended the Demon Plague, to the Sky Empress, who could sail the clouds like no other since. But these are stories for another time. If you don't want to wait, you can find a more complete version of the timeline on my Worldbuilding page. You can find the link down in the doobly-doo. With this, we have reached the end of today's video. Thanks for sticking with me till the end. You can make my day by giving this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more D&D and world building related content. If you want to support me to build up my channel and expand the world of Andra'Cil, you can become a supporter on Patreon. I put the links down in the doobly-doo. Your Dungeon Master for this video was Koroc DM, and I hope you join me in the next one.